All right, this is Albert. I'm interviewing Rob, and he is a creative director here at Global Hue. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Rob Hendrickson, Creative Director at Global Hue. I've been here for about 8 years and seen all the good and the bad and the new cool.
Cool. When you were, where did you start? When and where did you start your career?
I started in the early 1980s at an agency that used to be known as Darcy McManus Macias.
Okay.
Went through about 35 name changes by the time they finally became Leo Burnett, but that's where I started. And I used to work on Pontiac. That was my main client, Pontiac cars, which are also dwindling into oblivion now, unfortunately. But that's where I got started.
Okay. How long were you there?
I was there for 3 years, and then I moved to Saatchi
Okay.
and worked on Jeep for about 11 months, and then got an offer from my old boss at Darcy, who had gone on to become executive creative director at BDO.
Okay.
So I moved over and worked on Dodge truck and Dodge car for about 3 years.
Cool. Did you? Can you tell me the state of advertising in Detroit in the '80s when you first started? Like, what was the feeling you got? What was
It was kind of it was an industry that was caught between the old standard kind of Mad Men style agency model that had been in existence and the new the new era, new age of advertising that was created by agencies like BBDO in New York that were in the process of kind of revamping and revitalizing the agency world and advertising in general with much bigger concepts than anybody had ever thought of doing for advertising. So you started seeing things like Lee Clow was doing stuff at Chiat Day, and that was filtering from West Coast to East Coast, and the Midwestern agencies started to kind of catch that bug around probably the late '80s. I don't think it really took hold in a big way until then. But it was still budgets were still big, and people were still paying really well, and you could make a lot of money jumping from shop to shop, which was kind of, if you weren't moving, you weren't hot. So it was everybody's sure. It was in everybody's interest to try and keep jumping from job to job just to prove how good you were. So everybody got kind of caught up in that. There used to be a joke about the bus is loading up to go over to Campbell Ewald, everybody get on it, and then that bus would leave and go to Donor, and so that was kind of crazy, but it was fun.
Cool. Oh, can you tell me the state of advertising as you see it now?
Well, in between Viagra and Lipitor ads, I don't see a whole hell of a lot going on that's really interesting. It's too bad. Because just as cable has expanded and should have expanded the universe a dramatic way for everybody to create more advertising. It's the available eyeballs have shrunk, and people are DVRing as fast as they can, and time shifting, and it's getting more and more difficult to capture people. So I think the overall state is kind of gloomy right now, but I'm sure that we're about to embark on something that's really innovative and new. I just don't know that anybody really knows exactly what that is. Everybody keeps saying it's social media, and I believe that that there are billions of eyeballs attached to it. I know that to be true. I just don't know how many of those eyeballs are going to be able to sit still long enough to get a message. So how messages are delivered is going to change dramatically, and what that is, I don't think anybody's figured that out yet. Doesn't help that we're in a serious recession too, and nobody's buying anything. So
Sure. What do you think we can do to attract more talent to stay in Detroit or to come to Detroit?
I think one of the key things is getting the word out that this is actually a really great place to live. Most people don't realize that. All they see an occasional report on the news about Detroit, and how dim the situation is, and how things are terrible, but they never see past kind of the closed-in environment of the camera lens to see what's out there in the bigger picture, and what's around here, and the housing that's available to people, the neighborhoods, the towns, shopping, restaurants. I mean, everything costs less here, and it's a very, very, very cool place to be. You can raise a family here in ways that I don't think you really have the opportunity to do in other cities, bigger cities like Los Angeles, New York, places like that. Not that they're not great places, but they may not be quite as friendly to families as a place like Detroit is, and the Detroit suburbs. And when we talk about Detroit, really Detroit is the city, and then the suburbs, the metro area, is what how we refer to it around here. And I think for most people that live here, you kind of put it all together. So you got these great little towns like Royal Oak and Ferndale and Rochester and Troy and Birmingham, which are kind of the ring cities to the main center of Detroit. But we all, while we may not live in Detroit itself, we all consider ourselves Detroiters. And so there's a great deal of loyalty and good feelings about the area, because people live in neighborhoods, and there's pockets of really, really great things here, and it's moving back into the city, as opposed to the city kind of gentrifying from the inside out. It's the opposite now. Things are being taken back block by block, moving towards the city center. So that's it's pretty cool. It's a much better place to be than anybody ever gives it credit for. And over the years, I've been in the business for quite a long time, and I've seen a lot of people from other cities move here. Chicago, St. Louis, it's probably not the greatest example, but New York, Los Angeles. People come here kicking and screaming. If they've been transferred by other companies, they get here, and within 6 to 8 months, I've heard this again and again. They will say, "This is the greatest place I've ever been. I had no idea it was so nice. There was so much to do here, and it was so friendly. And once people are here, they don't want to leave." So I think that's the testament to how cool a place it could be for you if you just give it a chance.
What are some of the things you look for when you're bringing creative talent into your team, into the company you're working for?
Bright, interested people that are staying up on things, people that have that light in their eye that they want to do great stuff, and a great sense of humor is huge. I don't think you can exist on this planet and do great creative work unless you have a sense of humor and an ability to observe and take pleasure in what you see around you. And you have to be an observer. I think in this business, to be an effective creative, you have to be an observer of the world. And I think that's the main thing I would tell anybody that is just trying to get into the business is pay attention to how people talk, what they do, how they eat, how they dress, kind of cars they drive, the way they talk, what they're interested in. Take notes, take mental notes on that sort of thing, because what we do as advertisers is we reflect the real truth that we see around us. And stuff, I think the work that resonates the most with people and is the most effective is the stuff that speaks to that truth. That something that people go, "Oh yeah, I know that. I know exactly what that guy on television was talking about." That reaches into me because it's something that I can relate to. So if you can hit those relationship points, then you're gonna be able to do effective work, and I think that's the most important thing.
Great. Thank you.